All right, first thing, kind of like yesterday, when we do the distance formula, we have to be given two ordered pairs. And we're going to label those two ordered pairs x1, y1, x2, y2. First x, first y, second x, second y is all that means. They could be interchangeable, right? This could come first, this could come second. They could be interchangeable with one another. When we do the distance formula, it's going to be this big, long formula, but it's going to look kind of overwhelming at first, but when you break it down, we just got to break it down into parts. So here's your distance formula. D equals, and then we're going to have this big, long square root symbol. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And I'm going to do all of that, and then I'm going to take the square root of the whole thing. Okay? It looks difficult, but it's really not. Okay? I promise it's really not once you break it down into smaller parts. The most important thing that you do here is do the order of operations that we've talked about. And I'll show you how to kind of go through that. What I would not do is I would not try to put this whole thing in my calculator all at once. Okay? People that do that typically, I'm not saying that 100% of the time they always get the wrong answer, but if you try to put everything into your calculator all at once, you tend to have more errors because that's a lot of stuff for your calculator to put in, and you have to put it in exactly right. So you want to break it down into smaller parts. So here's what it looks like. We're going to label this x1, y1, x2, y2. Now I'm going to graph these 2 points. Bless you. Okay, we're going to label the 2 points P and Q. And what we are trying to do, bless you, is try to find the distance between these 2 points. We're trying to find the length. Okay? And I will tell you this. If you wanted to find the length here, if it was horizontal, I could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it was up and down, I could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when it's at an angle and it has a slope to it, like that line does, I can't just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And can I guess about what I think the length of that would be? Maybe. If you guys were going to take a guess on how long this segment is, anybody want to take a guess? How many units long that would be, boss?
Like 5.5.
5.5?
4.4.
What do you think?
4.5.
About 5? Okay. 4.5? Okay. 5? Okay. So, and it's not wrong to do that. Now, my answer might be a little bit off, okay? But that just kind of tells us about where we think it would be, okay? We know it's definitely not like 15 units long, okay? We know it's not 1 unit long. So, we kind of know about where our answer should fall. All right, so here we're going to go. D equals big square root sign. Okay, x2 minus x1. Well, we labeled our 4 points here. x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to go 0 minus -4. Squared. And then we're going to go y2 minus y1. So we're going to go 5 minus 3 squared. Okay, and like I said, I would not try to put this whole thing into my calculator all at once. So we want to break it down into smaller parts. And when I break it down into smaller parts, order of operations tells us we always got to do parentheses first, right? PEMDAS. 0 minus negative 4. Minus a negative really makes positive. So 0 plus 4, okay, would be 4. And 4 squared would make 16. And if you want to do all of that at once, that's okay, okay? Do the subtraction, addition, whatever you have to first. Square it. That's my first number. 5 minus 3 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Okay, so we get the square root of 20. This answer here is what we would call our exact value. So if we ever say, give me an exact value, the square root of 20 would be an exact value. Because when I put the square root of 20 into my calculator, it's going to give me a decimal. That decimal would be the rounded answer, okay? So if it says exact value, this would be the answer. Eventually, we'll talk about how to simplify a radical. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to leave it. And in most cases, we're going to round it to the nearest hundredth, whatever decimal place, okay? Hundredth. We deal with decimals a lot in geometry because we're going to find lengths of things, and sometimes those lengths are going to be decimals. So we got to know our decimal places and like what we're rounding to. Okay, the first place after the decimal is the tenth, and then it's the hundredth. Okay, so when we put this into our calculator, when I take the square root of 20, what's the decimal? Okay, so it's 4.472, and the only reason I put that 2 there is because this is the place value that we're rounding to, right? But I got to pay attention to the number to the right. We got to remember how to round. If this is 5 or higher, we would make this an 8. This is not 5 or higher, so we're going to leave 7 as 7, okay? That's the place value that we're rounding to, and we're going to say 4.47 units. 4.5 is pretty close. Yeah. Okay, so make sure you know where that square root button's at on your calculator. You'll definitely need that today. We did that a little bit in Algebra 1, so you should have some idea where that's at. But if you need some help with the square roots, let me know. Okay, do we have to draw a picture? No, okay? And in fact, like if I was going to do this second one, negative 2, 7 is going to be up in the second quadrant. 10, negative 3 is going to be all the way down in the fourth quadrant. Those 2 points are going to be quite a ways away from one another, okay? And the fact that they are quite a ways away from one another, that means the distance is going to be pretty long, okay? So if you graphed this one, you would look at it and you would say, man, those are a long way away, okay? And they will be. And so that's why, do you have to graph it? Not really. If you like to see what it looks like, then there's nothing wrong with it. And sometimes big ideas will maybe even ask you to graph it. But I would say you wouldn't have to unless it asks you to do that. So we're going to label our points. If you want to rewrite the formula, you can, but you don't necessarily have to. And so then, as I simplify here, we're going to go 10 minus negative 2 squared plus y2 minus y1, which would be negative 3 minus 7 squared. And I'll tell you straight up, one of the most common mistakes that people make on this is they try to do too much at once, and they don't watch their signs. They don't pay attention to their signs. Like for instance here, 10 minus negative 2 really becomes 10 plus 2. And then we can go ahead and square it. Okay? 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 squared is 144. Okay? Just like we had up here, these two numbers have to be positive. On this next one, and I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about here. Negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10. So when I square negative 10 in my calculator, I probably need to put it in parentheses. It kind of depends on the type of calculator that you have. But if you put this into most calculators, it's going to give you this as an answer. Okay? And that is not correct. So you have to make sure that you put -10 in parentheses when you square. Because it's -10 times -10, and a negative times a negative always makes a positive. Okay? So that is extremely important. So 144 plus 100, 244. And then we're still rounding to the nearest hundredth, so we're going to round and take the square root of 244. 15.62. And I always put a little u next to it, and that little u means units. Okay? We're not talking about feet or inches or centimeters or anything specific. We're talking about units because we're on a coordinate plane.
I was giving it utensils since we're already taking this.
Okay. Everybody good with the work and how to plug all that in? Calculators? Anybody need help with the calculator? Okay, if so, let me know. Okay. On this one here, we kind of talked about maps the other day, and sometimes we aren't real familiar with maps, and maybe we're not even real familiar with directions sometimes. But if you ever deal with a compass, I always remember directions. The way I learned it was never eat sour wheat, never eat sour watermelon, never eat soggy waffles. I don't know. There's all kinds of different ones that I've remembered throughout the years. North, east, south, west. Okay? I always start at the top, north, kind of like a clock. We're going to go clockwise around. North, east, south, west. Never eat soggy waffles. However you want to remember it. Okay, we're going to plot 2 points. Now this one doesn't just come right out and say, oh, here's our points. So we got to kind of follow the directions of the path. Okay, so my school is 4 miles east and 1 mile south of my apartment. My apartment, we're going to call that our home base, our origin. Okay, so this is my home right here, my apartment. My school is 4 miles east and 1 mile south. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the east and 1 mile south. Okay, and this is school. So I'm going to label it with an S. There's also a recycling center where your class is going on a field trip. It's 2 miles east and 3 miles north of your apartment. Okay, not of the school, but of my apartment. So we're going to go 2 miles east, 3 miles north. So 2 to the east, 3 to the north, and that's the recycling center. Okay, I'm just going to use an R to label it, recycling. Because it doesn't just tell us the ordered pairs, now the first thing is to come up with our ordered pairs. So let's start with school since that's the first point that we plotted. What is the coordinates or the ordered pair for school? Close. 4, -1. Not same thing. Nope. Negatives make a difference. Just like sometimes our checking account, we don't want it to go negative, right? That'd be bad.
Already negative.
Could be. I hope not.
No, it is.
No, he has 25.
Okay, so 4, -1. We went right 4 and down 1. Okay, so really watch your signs, your positives, negatives. The recycling center would be at 2, 3. Okay, and it doesn't matter which one you do first and which one you do second. So that's why those 2 points are interchangeable. Which one do I have to list first? Doesn't matter. Okay, as long as you got them both correct, you'll get the same answer either way. Okay, and now we can plug it into our formula. We want to find the distance between those 2 locations, the recycling center and school, is where we're finding the distance between. So we're going to go 2 minus 4. 3 minus negative 1. Okay, 2 minus 4 would be negative 2. And what happens when I square a negative? Positive 4. If you end up with a negative at this step, then we've done something wrong, or my calculator has told me wrong. Okay, don't blame it on your calculator. You're the one that punched it in, right? You got to know how to punch it into your calculator correctly. 3 minus negative 1 is same as 3 plus 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So we get the square root of 20. And it doesn't tell us what to round to here. So let's round to the nearest tenth on this one. If I take the square root of 20 and I round to the nearest tenth, what would that be? 4.5? Each type of square root of 20.
Yeah. Oh wait, I get it. Yeah.
And this one I would label in miles because each unit represents a mile. Notice up here, when I did this one, we had the same number, right? Square root of 20. When I went to the nearest nearest hundredth, it was 4.47. And so 4.5 and 4.7. And so you got to really read your question carefully on big ideas today, because which are they asking me to leave it? What are we asking to round to? So just read it carefully. Okay, that's all we got. Pretty short lesson, like I told you. I'm going to go get the assignment up for you and let you guys work. Assignment is not up yet. I think I get it up here. Yeah, it's not quite there yet.
Finish yesterday's. I need help. I don't know what I can do. How do you sleep? I remember some that I did. Why then? I can't think.
All right, this should be up for you.
After this, we will do it for
If you need help with any of the assignments that we've had so far, any questions that you're not sure about, let me know and I can come around and help you with that.